Hello guys, welcome back once again to another episode of Learn Data Analytics with Blessing, and in this video we're looking at CTEs. What are CTEs? CTEs are temporary named result sets that can be referenced. They are mostly used for simplifying complex queries, and one beautiful thing about CTEs is the fact that it makes your queries readable. It just gives it a cleaner look. So we have 3 questions here. The first thing is, what products have the max amount greater than 500? So we're using CTEs to answer this question. So a CTE starts with a with clause. If you want to create a CTE, you have to start with a with clause. So I'd come here and say with what? What I want to create is the maximum amount. What products have maximum amount? So I'm going to give this CTE, I'd call it max amount by product. Then as the next thing is as what? I move to the next line. I'll say okay. So I'm going to select the product, comma. Then I'll find the max of the total amount in the others table. So max of total amount as what? I'll give it as max amount. Then where is this coming from? From the others table. Don't forget, since you have an aggregate function here, max, you have to use a group by clause. I'm grouping this by the product. Then I'll close my parentheses. Now, CTEs don't work alone. This is the CTE now. This is the CTE. But before it works, or before you can get your result, you have to query off this CTE. You have to query off this table. So I'd come here and say select all from max amount by product. Then I have this. I'll run this now. F5, and you can see we have our result here. If I try to run this from here to here, excluding this query here, it's not going to work. So before the CTE work, you have to query off the table itself. So if I run this now, I'll get a result. First, these are just the maximum, product with maximum amount. But the real question is, what are products with maximum amounts greater than 500? So I'll come down here and say where, then I'll say where the max amount. Don't forget the max amount is here, coming from this CTE. Max amount is greater than 500. Then I'll run this F5, and this gives us result of product with max amount greater than 500. This is one of the unique way we can make use of CTEs. You can see that the fact that we can always reference this is referenceable. You can always reference this CTE anytime you want to use it. So let's look at the second one. What are products with maximum amount less than the average of your maximum amount? To do this, let me copy this now. Ctrl C, and I'll bring this here. I'll paste it here. So in this case, I'm going to remove the 500 here because we want where the maximum amount is less than the average of the maximum amount. So it means I have to calculate the average of the whole maximum amount. Now I'll put my parentheses and say select AVG open parentheses, AVG, well, don't forget max amount. So I can use this alias here. I would say max amount. Where is this coming from? It is coming from max amount by product. So let's type it in where? By product. Max amount by product. So I have this now. If I run this F5, so we are having error here. Let's see what the problem is, and that's because we've not closed our parentheses here for the second query, the subquery here. So I'll close this and run this F5. So you can see we have result here. So all these are the products with maximum amount less than the average of all the max amount. So one of the beautiful use of CT is the fact that it can be referenced. This is the CT we created, max amount by product, but we reference it here when we're trying to retrieve data. We also reference it here when we're trying to find the average of the max amount. If you have to do this using a subquery, it's going to be very complex. It can even confuse you while you're looking at it, because you have to replace anywhere you see max by product with the whole of this. So let's see what happens if we try to do this with subquery. I'll copy all this, Ctrl C, and I'll paste it here, Ctrl V. Then I'll remove this with max amount by product. I'll remove that. Then I'll change this to select all from, so you can see this is become as marks by product. Then I'll remove this as well, the select all, since already at the top here, remove that. And anywhere you see marks amount by product, you have to replace it with the whole of this one here. So I'd come here and say, I'd copy this, Ctrl C, then I'll remove all this here, Ctrl V. So can you see how this is? It's very, I mean, it looks complex to me, but with CTE it makes your code more cleaner and easy to read. Now compare this subquery here. Let me drag this down a bit. I'll drag this down a bit. So compare this subquery here to this CTE here, which looks more cleaner and which looks more cleaner. If you have to compare both, you can see just with max amount by product, as this is a CTE, then we query off the CTE to get all the data from the max amount by product, then we filter out the result for every max amount less than the average of the max amount. But using the subquery, I'll say select all from, this is our derived table, our table here, which is like the max amount, which is the CTE here. Then where the max amount is less than the, select the average of the max amount from this particular table. We have to rewrite all the queries again instead of just using the max amount by product. So in subqueries, it's not possible for you to just type in the name of that derived table. You have to type in all the whole query. But in CTE, you can just type in the name of the CTE because it can be referenced at every point in time. If I try to run this now, F5, you can see we'll get the same result as the CTE. F5, we'll get the same thing. Let me drag up. We'll get the same thing. You can see we have the same result when I drag up. So this is the importance of using CTE. The next thing we have to do is to count products sold for every of the others place. Now if I'm to use a CTE to do this, I'll most likely be doing a left join, but let's create that count product for every of the others place. So I'd come here and say with, let's still count, let's get the CTE count product. So count product is the name of the CTE, count product as, open parenthesis, select, I'm selecting the product, then I want to count the product, close it. I'll give this as product count, and where is this coming from? It's coming from the others table. Since by having a count there, it's an aggregate function, I have to use a group by clause, group by, I'm grouping this by product, then I'm going to close my parentheses, and don't forget you can't run the CTE until you query of it. Select all from what? From count, the CTE count product. So I'll run all this now and let's see the result that we get. So group by product, let's run all this now, F5, and you can see we have results. So students, we have 2 gaming console that was sold, we have 2 keyboards, 1 headphone, 3 laptops, and like that. But what I want to do is I want to merge this CTE to the main table. So I'll just say select. So let's see what we have in the others table, so I'll know what to bring in. Select the others, all from others first, F5. So this is what I have. I want to bring the order ID, I also want to bring the order date, then I'll bring product and would merge the count like that. So I'll come here and say select, I want the order ID, comma, I also want the order date, comma, then I want the product, comma, then I also want the product and I want the total amount. Let's add in total amount, comma, then I want this count of products that is coming from the count products CTE table, CTE. So I'll come here and put the product count, coded count. Then don't forget it would ask you from others, then from others, because the order ID, order date, and product is going to, and total amount is coming from the others table. Then I would say left join, so you can left join it in permanent table to a CTE, left join the count of product. So left join orders as O, left join count of product as CP, then on what? The two common column is product. We have products in the CTE count product. We also have products in the orders table. So I'd say O dot, that is the, based on these two column, which is common between them, then CP dot product, because we have the product column common between both table. So we have this now, and I'll come here to also specify where these are coming from. O dot order ID, O dot order date, P dot, that's O dot product. Same thing for this, O dot total amount. Then for this is going to be CP dot. It means that the order ID is coming from the orders table, order date from orders table, products and total from orders table, then this particular product count from CTE. And I'm going to run this now, then F5. As you can see, we have result. Now this CTE has a match to the orders table. This is also one of the ways you can use CTE. The next thing we look at is recursive CTE. And what are recursive CTE? Is a type of CTE that references itself. We use it most of the time. You're dealing with organization hierarchical data, or you want to create or generate a date table, a date series on your table or for your data. So let's look at how. I'll show you how you can use it to create a date table. So how do we do that? I'll just say with. So I want to create a date table from January 1st 2025 to 31st of March 2025. So I'd say with date series, this is the name of my recursive date series, with date series as. So I'd come here, open my parentheses, as what. So the first thing I'm going to do is to select. Now when it comes to recursive CTE, it is split into three parts. We have the anchor query, we have the recursive query, then we have the termination condition. Let's look at that. So let's say select, I want 2025 01 right, as I'm going to give this as date value, but I have to specify that this is a date. So I'm going to use the function cast. So I'll say cast what, open parenthesis. I'm saying cast this value here as, cast the value here as date. I'll close my parenthesis. So I'm saying let it cast all this, that is change the data type of this value here to be date as my date value. And the next thing I'm going to do is to use the union operator, union all operator, union all. Then I would say select what, date add. Don't forget date add function adds date, it adds to an interval. So open my parenthesis, date add. What is the interval? I want it to be day, comma, number of in the increments just by 1, comma, then what is the value, which is the date value that I want to work with, date value. And I'm going to close my parenthesis. Where is this coming from? It's coming from the date series, and what is the condition, termination condition, where the date value. So I'll explain this. Date value is less than the end date. End date in this case is 2025 03 31st. Then I'll just go ahead to close my query. Now let's look at this first before I query off this CTE. This is a recursive CTE. And why is it a recursive CTE? This is because this part is called the anchor query, like the base query, like the first value. So I'm saying I wanted to generate list of dates between 1st of January 2025 and 31st of March 2025. So what I said, this is the first value, let this be the first value, then generate value. So it will keep adding 1, so it refers to itself. So once this is, it adds 1 to the 1st of January 2025. Then once you get to the second date, it adds 1 to the second date, like that adds to the third date till it gets the value. So let's generate all the value. I would say select all from date series. Then I'm going to run this. Now let's see F5. As you can see, we have a list of dates from 1st of January 2025, and if I should scroll down to 31st of March 2025. So this is how you use recursive CTE to generate data or date series. So here is the anchor query. Then all these parts, these are the recursive query. These are the recursive query. Then here is the termination condition. Now this is going to stop iterating once it gets the value that are less than this end date. So what if my value, let's see, by default SQL would iterate up to 100. So what if this is maybe to 2027, right? 2027. If I run this, would still have an error, F5. You can see the statement terminated, the max recursion is 100. So by default, the max recursion, max iteration, by recursion it means the repetition is going to be just 100. So I have to specify that, okay, because I know this is more than 100. I can come here and say, okay, option, open parenthesis, and I'll say max recursion. That is, the max repetition should be, if you know the specific number of dates, you can type it in, but I can just leave it at 0. 0 implies unlimited recursion. It will iterate as many as possible. So if I run this now, we should get a result, F5. And you can see we have a list of dates. We have over 820 rows of data. A list of dates from 1st of January 2025 down to 31st of March 2027. This is how you use the recursive CTE to create a date series. So like I said, it's mostly used when you're dealing with organization, hierarchical data. If you want to know who is an employee's manager, or you want to see the hierarchy in the data, you use recursive CTE. So I hope you've been able to pick one or two from this video. As usual, don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. And if you have questions, the comment section is open for you to ask your questions. Bye.